Okay, guys, so welcome to this closure Zoom of the first module of communication education concepts in convergence. With us, we have today Dr. Geisel García. She had, She is graduated in social communication and communication science from the University of Havana in Cuba. She did this same master, but the Spanish version, and she had also a master's degree in communication science from the UAB and a doctorate in communication at the UAB, studying the impact of digital media competencies on participation and democratic gap in Spain. And she's working to develop comprehensive communication strategies to support digital inclusion and equality. So she will be hosting this Zoom today. So please, Hazel, be welcome.
Hello, Maya, Lorena. Thank you, Albert, for this introduction. I'm very happy to be here with you to have this opportunity for discussion. And I'm very happy as well of having moderated this the first forum. I imagine that you have had another session before you have introduced yourself, so you know each other, I imagine. But I'm sorry for that, as I don't know you personally. I haven't directly heard from you about your context, your area of expertise, your interest in communication and education. All these things are very interesting for me. So I would like to hear from you. What is your field of interest? What do you like in communication and education? Why did you engage in this master? That would be very insightful for me. Who would like to start?
Hello again. My name is Lorena Grebenisha, and I'm a psychiatrist and assistant professor at the George Emil Palade University of Medicine, Pharmacy, Science and Technology in Târgu Mureș, more exactly in Transylvania from Romania. I came to this master's degree to develop my communication skills, to be able to communicate better with my students, and to update myself with the latest news in this field. It's from the part of the teaching, not as a psychiatrist.
Interesting, very interesting. Do you want to continue, Maya?
Sure. My name is Maya Hollander. I am currently an American teaching English in Spain. I come from a communications background, originally in the corporate world. So a lot of this technology was really important with my work, and the fact that it was developing so fast and the topics that we've been discussing actually align with a lot of the challenges I had when I was working in corporate. And now, as I am going around the world and teaching, it's become prevalent in this sphere as well, especially with these kids from a younger generation that are experiencing technology in a completely different way. So I would really like to develop curriculum that applies in this area, that actually does take into account these new technologies, these new methods, these new realities that a lot of people from my generation and older are maybe not so familiar with, or are working to keep up with at this point.
Very interesting. Can I ask, where are you based in Spain, and what level of English are you teaching?
So I am currently in Torrevieja, which is south of the very south tip of the Valencian community, comunidad, and I am teaching currently primary school, so anywhere from 5 to 12, 13 years old. So this is, to me, very much applicable to what I'm doing right now. So that's why I've been very much enjoying the topics that we've been discussing.
Okay, so it's great. I really like to have this opportunity of discussing with you. I think it is very interesting. You are in the, no, you are making these questions about the impact of communication and education in the classroom, I imagine. So this is very interesting. And for this topic that we have been discussing, communication and education, we have been discussing about the concepts of communication and education and their impacts. And for the next hour, what I will do is to introduce some of the concepts that we have been studying in this module, and also try to find out what are the implications. So I will introduce these topics, and I would like to continue by trying to understand the impacts on the classroom particularly, and in the school. So let me put my timer so I don't speak too much. And I would like to explain you what we are going to do. We started with an introduction of us, of who will be discussing for the next hour. Then we are going to tackle the concepts of communication and education, and what are the challenges and the debates in the current societies. We are going to discuss the implications, as I told you. Then I would like to have an opportunity for discussion and having some inputs from you. And finally, we are going to discuss the next steps, particularly the work you are working on, the activity you are working on. If you have any doubts, we can discuss that as well. Okay. Well, this is a book I read a couple of years ago. I don't know if you know it, because I think it has been very successful. So maybe you have read it. It's The Bread of the French author Laetitia Colombani. One of the story it highlights is the story of Smita, a member of the Dalit, the untouchable community in a remote village of India. Sorry. This woman witnesses how her daughter is facing the fatalism of the caste system in India, and she wants to break this fatalism, and she embarks on a liberation journey, using as her only resource her bread. No? You would say that the story doesn't relate directly with technology or with the title of this conference, but I think it is about the power of connections, and you will understand why. In this case, the bread is not only what saves Smita and her daughter from their predetermined destinies, but it also symbolizes a universal web of connections. In the story, Smita, thanks to her bread, she can connect with other women facing more complex problems, or maybe problems that are more familiar with us in Western societies, that are, for example, hyper-productivism or industrial modernization. But if you zoom out to what it is our society today, we can see that more than a bread, it's like a huge web of connections, where all the stories of modern human beings are interconnected, are linked by the structures of networks. Okay. And this allows me to introduce my topic today, which is networks, which is, as Professor Yambajik says, is the nervous system of our society. Network society, information or knowledge society, all these terms refer to the same reality. It's life in a type of social organization where networks structure the social fabric at a massive scale. I would like to highlight some statistics for us to think together about the scale of these changes. No, for example, the amount of people that uses internet today. This is 5.4 billion people that are internet users. Maybe you would say, okay, but there is still 30% of the population that is offline. But the interesting thing is the pace at which these changes are taking place, no? and how fast it is. For example, if you see the curves, you can see how the in the last 5 years, from 2019, 32% of these people have become online in these five years. So only in 5 years, 30% of these statistics has changed a lot. No? Other statistics is the number of Internet of Things devices that are currently, and how this is expected to triple from 2020 to more than 29 or 38% in 2030. No? Or, for example, the amount of data that has been being created in the last few years. Here you have a graphic that shows exactly these statistics, the volume of information created, captured, copied, and consumed worldwide in the last 15 years. You can see how it has tripled from 2020. No? It's a lot of information that has been being produced. And not only for consumption of the AI, it's us humans that are being requested, or that need to be prepared to consume all this information, to process this information, try to do something with this information. No? So that I think it is important to understand the implications, no? And particularly the implications for education, which is the topic that is taking us gathered today. No? I think that we have Malak in the meeting that just entered. Is Malak, am I pronouncing it correctly? Do you want to say hello? Hi.
I didn't know we have a meeting today. I forgot. So
No worries.
Yeah. Sorry, Geisel, about that. Aren't you receiving the notifications on the virtual campus? Because I'm sending it weekly, and you have to turn on your notifications to receive it through your mail. And I don't know if you have done so.
turn on the notification, so I didn't receive the.
Okay. Okay, if you want tomorrow, I can send you a mail with the instructions, so you can turn on and you will receive a weekly notification about the classes or the topic discussed that week. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Geisel.
We just started like 5 minutes ago, and we were just in the introductions about this information knowledge network society. But we had a small introduction because I wanted to understand your background, your interest in the topic. So I give you the opportunity to introduce yourself and let me know why did you engage in this master? What are your interests in the field?
Zainab. I'm from Beirut, Lebanon, and I studied communication arts, radio, TV, film, American University in Lebanon. And I worked in the TV station for several years, and I'm interested in this master's because I wanted to complete my academic field, so I can start teaching at uni or and the communication.
It cuts a bit, no? For you as well, or is my connection maybe? Could you hear the introduction? More or less. Can you repeat? Max? I'm sorry for that. I think that, yeah.
I will. Now, can you hear me well?
I can hear you better now, yeah.
That's better, yeah. Okay, so yeah, 1 minute. Yeah, so my name is Malak Abu Zainab. I'm from Beirut, Lebanon, and I studied communication arts, radio, TV, and film, and I work in a TV station, Al Mayadeen Broadcast TV, for several years, and as a news reporter, news writer. Yeah, and then I'm interested in doing my master's because I want to go to the academic field, maybe teaching at university, and I'm aiming for achieving also the PhD after this.
Okay, okay. Now I understand. Thank you. Thank
You're
you very
welcome.
much, Malak.
Thank you.
Okay. So we go back to our topic. We were just discussing the impact of the society we are facing today, in which individuals are working, studying, living today. We just made a small recap of the amount of individuals that are online today, the amount of information we produce as a society. No? And it leads me to this guy. Do you know who it is? Who is this? This is Marshall McLuhan, who was a professor that in the 60s, we people that studied communication generally know very well who it is, because he was one of the gurus of the idea of the global village. He mentioned this as this concept. And we can see that with the data we presented before, that the idea of the global village is every day closer, no? With the mainstreaming of technology that connects every place in the world and reduces the time to reach every place, no? He talked about communication as a new form of interconnectedness across all areas of human life, about technological connectivity and how electronic media, in his context, television and radio, of course, will reduce the distances among people for instant communication and interaction. No? Then there was this topic that is quite, it's like a contrast, no? On the one hand, he talked about a collective consciousness, no? As people would become more empathetic and more aware of problems around the world. But on the other side, there will be like a tribalization, as people will tend to get more empathetic with people alike them, and will make people more closed in their communities. So let's try to go back to this contrast in the following slides that I will present to you. So, because I think it is interesting, no? This contrast, on one hand, on this collective consciousness or aware about this global village, and on the other hand, this tribalization, no? Where people tend to understand with similar people, okay? I think this is very interesting, and if we find the origins of this information and knowledge society, we can go back to the 60s to understand what happened, and even before. On the contrary of many people that thinks that information and knowledge society is just a result of the technological revolution, this was not the only factor that led us to this society. In fact, yes, there is this electronic revolution, mainly as a result of the innovation, the transistor, no? That was a very important innovation in the 40s. But also there was this need for economic recomposition of the capital. We had this crisis in the 70s that put a lot of pressure on enterprises to get more benefits and to try to reduce cost in the production process. No, there was this need for adapted production models, not only producing at massive scale, but also try to arrive to put in place more flexible production models based, of course, on information. No? On the other hand, there was a cultural shift that is important to mention. I think that this concept can be more complicated to explain. There were many processes taking place, but let's say to explain it at least in a superficial way, that after the Second World, there was this fall, let's say, of what has been called the isms. No, there is this essay that is very interesting. I think in English you can call it all the solid melts in the air, I would say. Todo lo sólido se desvanece en el aire, we call it in Spanish. And it explains how all these ideologies, monolithic ideologies, very strong ideologies, very related to the industrial societies, for example, socialism, communism, Keynesianism, even religions were being contested, were being challenged, but more flexible, more adaptable ways of thinking, and very related to the empowerment of people for the rights movements that were contesting all these isms. No? So there was a cultural shift as well for freedom, even individualism, I would say, small groups that were looking for a change in culture. No? This was another very important factor that led us to the information knowledge society. And there was also policies. Policies finally consolidate all these innovation changes in real norms, in real efforts to transform societies in different ways. No? And in this sense, there was this important speech of Al Gore's on the government of democracy in 1994, when they talked about information superhighways, no? And they just created a parallelism between the information highways with the highways created in the 50s and that had a great impact in the economic development, no? So that was the first brick, let's say, in a change in strategies for economic development based on digitalization of society. And of course, being the United States one of the most powerful economies in the world, it was leading the way for other societies to embrace this form of economic development, and no other countries wanted to be excluded. No? So we can see then in the following years how other governments also embraced the idea of this digitalization as a motor, no? As an important driver for economic development. And then we have what has been called by Manuel Castells as the informational society. It's a specific form of social organization where the information generation, processing, and transmission are the fundamental sources of productivity and power. Let's say that, as Manuel Castells explained, it is not only like industrial society that you have this material, these raw materials, you have this physical substance, and you can transform it with knowledge. No, let's say, for example, steel. You have to have the knowledge and how to transform iron to get the steel, and you have different methods to do that, and you finally find that method that's better than the other one. In this case, no, in this case, information itself is the raw material of the society of information. You can understand, for example, how technological enterprises as Facebook or YouTube, they transform information into products that can be sold for taking decisions, for launching new products, for offering information to the population. So in this case, information itself is a good that can be sold. No? But there are other examples. For example, information is very useful. It's very useful in companies. It is a strategic asset. It's as important as physical goods or financial resources, because it allows for enterprises and companies to take precise decisions, to be efficient, to be quick, answering to the challenges of the environment. So information has become as valuable as never before. So there are several traits, let's say, characteristics of this society. I won't go in deep with that, but I would like you to take a look, and if you are interested in one in particular, we can go back to this and try to discuss together. I think we have mentioned a bit some of them. Globalization, that is a society organized in networks. It is characterized by flexibility and stability. the virtuality, because this global village, no, we can encounter, we can be together no matter the physical boundaries. No? We can, for example, I don't know, well, some of you live abroad, and you can engage with your community of origin as if you were close one from the other. No, this has changed a lot in 20 years. Even when I migrated here, communication with my family or with my friends in my country of origin was very different. Now it's very easy that I would even have the feeling that they are in the same territory or the same time that me, and it's not the case, of course. And finally, fluidity. No, this is important. We mentioned before this essay, everything that is solid melts into the air. No, I would say it's a translation. I'm sorry for that. But yes, there is a big shift in what was the solid in the industrial society, you know, like big production plants, massive production, you know, for this model, and what is the media networks that are fluid, no, that change with the trends. And for example, you can see campaigns on Twitter, topics that go trending topics, for example. This is fluidity, no? This is an example of fluidity, very, very, very particular of the networks, no? We can go back to that if you're interested in that. More on that, the knowledge society, you have seen this in the readings of the module. It was a proposition of UNESCO to move beyond information society to knowledge society, because UNESCO is one of the organizations that care the most about cultural diversity, and they know it is very important, the patrimony that every culture has. So for UNESCO, it's very important knowledge, no, the capacity of getting together, put together all this culture to create knowledge. No? The network society, another important author I would say in the field is Jan Magic. We have mentioned before, and there is this work, foundational work in the network society. He conceptualizes this society as a modern type of society with an infrastructure of social and media networks that characterizes most of organization at every level, individual, group, organizational, and societal. For him, the most important thing is not the substance itself, information as a substance, as Castell mentioned, but it's the structure of this society organized in networks. And he highlights how this network includes every individual around the world, in one way or another, then organization, groups, and then societies, and then a big network of societies at the world level. What does this mean? What does that information as the main substance for society means? Well, that means that in this organization of society, every decision is based on science, on rationality and reflexivity, that there is an economy where in every sectors, even the agrarian or industrial sectors, values a lot information production. It's very important information. In the labor market, we are going to see that more in depth in the following slides. There are a majority of functions largely or completely based on tasks of information processing, and they require knowledge and higher education to be accomplished. In culture, what dominates is the symbols related to media and information products. Our culture is mainly related to media. And then we have this path to a new economy. Now, we were talking about the profiles that are needed in this society that need to be ready to process this amount of information. No? I have some more statistics for you, sorry for that. Half of jobs will be automated by 2055. 90% of jobs will require digital skills in the future. And 65% of children will perform jobs that do not exist yet. No, so that allow us to understand the dimension of the shift we are experienced. So this is not finished at all. Actually, Van Dijk exposes and he precised that this is more than a revolutionary society. This is an evolutionary society. That means that many more changes and shifts are expected in the future. Okay, talking about the future of work, I wanted to share with you some of the profiles that are expected, that are growing very fast lately, and that are expected to grow in the future. This is from the World Economic Forum's Future of Work of Jobs report in 2023. And as you can see, the majority of the fastest growing roles are technology-related roles. For example, AI and machine learning specialists, they top the list of fast-growing jobs, followed by sustainability specialists, business intelligence analysts, and information security analysts. I think that in the seven step, there is something related to education, because education is very important, and that's one of the line of discussion that I want to have with you. Why is this important for education, and what do we need to have in mind as educators in this sense? Okay, so that means that literacy of nowadays is not just literacy as we know it. For example, this is not this anymore. It goes beyond knowing how to write and read. The literacy of nowadays is a literacy that allows us not just to understand a text, but also being capable of doing very basic operations in our life. For example, accessing to the to news and information, using at basic level some devices to produce some content, being able of operating certain devices for work, doing administrative operations, for example, banking and purchases, communication with our relatives, friends, peers, or other people that we meet. So it's more complex than we know, and it is very related to the language of media. So, for example, this first photo, I like it very much because it is in the university where we are all studying and working, and this is in the plateaus, we call it. It's the studios of the UAB, and here we are teaching to teenagers how to use media. This was one activity that we performed in the Gabinete. But there are many. You can see how other people need to also know how to use a mobile phone, for example, and many other devices, okay? Here is the concept: information literacy and media literacy. I imagine that you have had the opportunity, you have just started the master, but I don't know if you just have the opportunity to talk about it, media and information literacy. Its objective is empower people and communities to being able to participate in our societies and develop individual skills for that. Critical thinking, that is expected to be one of the crucial skills of the present and future of work, of life, problem solving and collaboration. And then I'm going to introduce some of the challenges. The first one is the digital and democratic gap. I think that some of you introduced it as well in the forum, and I was very thankful for that because I think it is very important. because it is like, you know, it's like something very important. It's a crucial factor to talk about equality in our world. No, without media and information skills, people risk staying behind in the digital economy, and of course, missing access to information benefits, cultural expression, and participation in society. So it is really a big issue. Here is this statement of UN Deputy Secretary General Amina Mohamed that states that without decisive action by the international community, the digital divide will become the new face of inequality. And let's try to understand what are we talking about when we talk about digital divide. In the beginning of the studies of the internet and the digital divide, there was huge importance that was given to the demographic divide. Academics said, okay, we come from a society with a lot of inequalities. No, for example, you have different levels of access to the academic world, no, to different educational backgrounds, different socioeconomic levels. You have different opportunities depending if you're a woman, or if you're a woman, if you're a man. For example, here, I'm sorry for this slide, it's not very appealing, but I wanted to share some stats on this. For example, even today, women hold only 17% of major technology jobs, including roles as programming and software development. And this will continue to be like that because on the pipeline of education, only 20% of graduates in information and technology degree programs are in degree programs that lead to technical growth. There are other issues later. For example, one of the things that I read is that many women, for example, in the UK, not only they do not access to this post, but they have difficulties to remain in the post because they are very demanding in terms of dedication, in terms of hours of work, and they cannot find a good balance, work-life balance. No, so it's difficult for them. And from the side of consumption, women in low and middle-income countries are 25% less likely than men to use the internet. This is huge, no? And this is an example of demographic divide related to the internet. But for example, this one, there are studies that explains how the older a person is, the more likely he or she is to not engage in online political practices, no? For example, regarding political participation. But not only for older people, even for young people, research have proven that there are very different levels of critical media literacy among digital natives, not only because you are a digital native and you are you feel comfortable using the internet and surfing the net, you are literate in media literacy. No, there are many levels even for those populations. So these are the demographic factors, but there are many others. And what scholars have found is that as the internet and this technology and this society is becoming more mature, then you can find that the demographic components are less important, and then you have like more divides after that. For example, the access divide, the knowledge and uses divide. This means that, for example, we're talking about digital natives, for example. Some of them will use it just to game online, for example, and many of them will use it to study, to follow the academic careers, or just to do activities that resonate with the projects in life, and they will use it to their benefit. So not only is important the demographic factors, such as if you live in one country or in community or in another, but once you have the internet, what do you do with that? So that's another thing. And finally, there is this democratic divide because people that can use the internet with higher levels of skills and competencies, they use it to promote their own decisions in life, the kind of society that they want to build and where they want to live in. I wanted to show you this to explain how the demographic divide related to the country will disappear in the future. No? As you can see, in the 90s, in the 20s, you can see how North America, the adoption of the internet, sorry, I don't have the title here, but this the adoption of the internet in the different regions. In North America, this adoption was very early, 19th and 20s. Also in Europe, a bit later, but in the last years, I would say, 10 years, it's mostly flat, right? Because it grew in the 90s and 20s. But then you can see in South Asia or Sub-Saharan Africa how these statistics are growing very sharply, no? So that means that in the future, the access itself won't be a problem for digital divide. The problem would be how you use internet for. Okay, so the digital and uses, the knowledge and uses divide, sorry. And for example, there are authors that have studies how different kind of uses, for example, if you divide among entertainment uses, for example, chat with friends, watch videos on YouTube, gaming, for example, and you use it, what they call beneficial uses, which means searching for information, studying, having information on online media, for example. They are like beneficial uses in contrast with entertainment uses, and they can see how these users that use the web for beneficial uses get more advantages of the internet. So that means that there is a shift in how we understand the digital divide, following mostly the uses. Okay. Here's the pyramid that has been proposed by a group of European authors. There is this report of the European Commission, where participated the director of the Gabinete de Comunicación y Educación, José Manuel Pérez Tornero. They proposed this pyramid of skills. In the base of the pyramid, you can find the environmental factors that every country has put in place to allow for people to get these competencies. But then in the other dimensions of the pyramid, you can find individual skills, for example, critical understanding, the use skills, and finally communicative abilities that include participation, content creation, and social relations. No? If you want, we can go in deep, but I wanted to present you this concept for us to be on the same page about what we are talking about when we talk about media information literacy. Then there is another, this is a proposition I made in my PhD thesis, and I prefer to see it not as a pyramid, but as a more distributed relation among all these concepts. This as critical understanding, communication and education are used as enabling processes that are all the time taking place by the individuals. And this, in the basis, you can find media effects, media content, media industry, and the self. And this is like a structure that are in the mind of the individuals and are being like consulted and contrasted all the time when the individual receives information from the media and has to produce as well. No, so that would be like a mechanisms that is everything, that's all the time being is functioning all the time when we engage with media content. I think that we have the time. I'm going to introduce now another line of challenges that I think is very important, and it's related to some of the, how to say that, is some of the challenges that poses today, I think, social media and new media. No? You remember that we introduced it before, Marcia McLuhan, and this contrast between collective consciousness and retribalization, no? And I want to go on that because in contrast with what we heard at the beginning of the internet, that there was a big opportunity for social participation, for citizen engagement, what we are seeing today is a more dark phase of the web. And this is very recent, no? I think that you have heard about these riots that took place in the UK this summer, at the end of July. I want to share with you a short video. This is from the YouTube channel of Piers Morgan, the journalist from UK, when he interviews one of the people that spread false information that resulted in very dangerous riots in the UK. Okay, so you ready? Okay, let's go for it.
On July 29th,
sorry for that. Let's see what happens.
a 17-year-old boy murdered 3 girls and injured 8 more children in horrific mass.
Sorry, can you see it? Yes.
Yes, now I can see it, yes.
That was the wrong
Yeah, you
stabber.
did.
Pierce, be very careful what you say.
On July 29th, a 17-year-old boy murdered 3 girls and injured 8 more children in horrific mass stabbing at a Taylor Swift-themed dance class in Merseyside. The alleged killer was born in Wales to Rwandan parents. The police did not initially confirm his identity because he's aged under 18. Disinformation filled the vacuum instead. Right-wing influencers spread a battery of false claims online, including that the killer was a devout Muslim and a Syrian refugee. Riots and looting have since spread to at least 16 towns and cities across the UK. Far-right thugs have sieged mosques and hotels housing asylum seekers. Groups of armed Muslim men have attacked people in the street. These appalling scenes have become a stain on Britain's global reputation. Elon Musk has commented that civil war is inevitable in the UK. Many US conservatives are amplifying the unrest as apparent evidence of failed multiculturalism. One of the influencers accused of fanning the flames is Andrew Tate, a recently converted Muslim man whose inaccurate claims in the days after the mass stabbing have been viewed tens of millions of times. And he joins me now. Andrew Tate, welcome back to Uncensored.
It's been a while.
It has. And obviously you've, as in fact I'm about to talk to you, Nigel Farage, who is now a member of parliament in the UK and who has been saying some very inflammatory things in the last week or so about these riots, has blamed you and named you in a radio interview as for the person who spread the disinformation, which he then believed. I want to start by playing a clip of a video you posted to Instagram, I think it was, on the 29th of July, that you posted to various social media platforms, in which was your response to what had happened.
So an undocumented migrant decided to go to a Taylor Swift dance class today and stab 6 little girls. Sorry, somebody arrived in the UK on a boat. Nobody knew who he was. Nobody knows where he's from. The media is, of course, hiding the fact that it's a 17-year-old male. They don't want to highlight how ridiculous it is that we allow military-age males combatants to flood our shores. I don't see any protests in the UK. I don't see anybody complaining. Nobody's outside of the school. Nobody's outside the police station. The soul of the Western man is so broken that when the invaders slaughter your daughters, you do absolutely fucking nothing.
Now that video has been viewed 15.1 million times. X limited the post's visibility because of its rules on hateful conduct. But the bottom line, Andrew, is that almost everything you said in that video was completely untrue. And yet it was apparently seized upon online, spread wide and far, and made people believe what you were saying. So my question for you off the top here is, why did you race to spread such woeful disinformation, given the massive following you have, and encourage people to take action against a caricature and description of who had perpetrated this, which was simply untrue?
I will stop it here. I wanted to have some fresh example of what can happen in a country like the UK, where like have some experience with the media, that you could say there is a population exposed to human rights approaches in the education. So how can in a country as the UK can happen something like this, no? And you can see the hate in his speech and how inflammatory it can be in social media with somebody with a lot of followers, no? And I'm showing this because I think this is an example of how social media have an incredible capacity of replicate and to doing something bigger of the people's emotions, no? Indeed, there are many concerns about how to manage migration, etc., on the model of the multiculturalism, but this is how people like this with evident hate in their speeches can how to say, catalyze riots in this way. Another example, more sorry for that. I will go back to my presentation. Sorry. Here. Okay. Can you see it here? Okay. Another example. This is the attack to the capital of the United States in 2016, right, Maya? 2016, I think.
No, this was January 6th. I think this was a year or two ago.
Okay. Okay. Well, one example was the how QAnon grew by that period. Sorry, it was 2020. Yes, you're right. It was 2020. Of course, the membership grew a lot. Mainly because of Facebook algorithms, because Facebook algorithms prioritize contents when people engage a lot with them. So they viralize very quickly. Every content that is inflammatory, that people have different points of view, that there is this polarization, then it is quickly proposed for users. And this happens with QAnon, but it has happened with active anti-vaccines movements, for example. So that's a real issue for democracies, no? And here, some of the phenomena that contribute to that is, for example, cyber cascades, no? So how information is replicated from one media to the other to spread, including false information. And this is the case of I think that in the fragment I put from the Piers Morgan show, he mentioned Nigel Farage, right? Yes, in that, of course, he replicated the information from the other guy without double checking. And he is a political personality in the UK. So this is cyber cascades of information. There is no time for fact checking, and people replicates, and it's like repeating false information is very easy to happen this. So that means that democracy and city security are in danger. And of course, policies lag behind the rapid technological evolution. I mean, policies are slower than this technological evolution, and how companies in the digital environment are trying to find new ways of find benefits or doing benefits of their models. Okay, so here are the populisms. I'm sorry, Maya, I'm talking about a lot of your country. Your country, you have an opinion here. I'm very happy to listen to that. But in my view, there is a rise on populism, and you can see a different style from politicians that are completely changing the way of approaching communication with their citizens. You can see it in the States, maybe the most well-known, but we have many. We have here in Spain, I was reading something about Ayuso today, for example. It's a way of communicating from politicians that change the norms and change the rules, because deliberately they want to present themselves as outsiders or out of the traditional way of doing things, So they want to break with the traditional political discourse. They try to use emotional language, For example, this well-known phrase from him talking about North Korea, fire and fury as the world has never seen. This is something not seen before in politics, in diplomacy, that one president could talk like that from another one in one of the most important economies of the world, And even using this conversational style, brief, using verbs, using simplicity, and you can see it today even in the debates, for the presidency elections in the States, Maybe Maya has more to say here about this. Okay, so there's not much time for us to discuss it. So I would go very quickly in this for these slides, just to present you some information. This is another of the gurus of the disinformation and communication contest that we have today. This is Nicolás Negroponte, founder of the Media Lab, and he premonized that in the future we would have a daily me, that is like a newspaper made at our taste, with the news that we wanted to see, the news we wanted to hear, where people that have a different opinion could be censored or not listened or heard. You can filter what you want to read, to see, and to hear. You can create this newspaper on your own design, where you can just hear and read people that think like you. This is completely our realities today, and that one of many people that just read what they find in their social networks and get informed by social media, for example, which is a very hegemonic, I would say, very common trend in online news today. Okay. I like this concept of author Cass Sustain that talks about this architecture of serendipity against this architecture of control. This daily me would be an architecture of control. I can control what I can see. And this is very different from face-to-face communication. In face-to-face communication and in more traditional societies, you had to face with difference and political difference. You were obliged to do that because you find different people when you walk on the street and you find everyone and you have a good public space. But in virtual rooms of conversation and discussion, you can just choose what you want. This is an architecture of control. What we need is an architecture of serendipity to be able to create a real diverse public opinion, where you can see difference, you can argument, you can discuss with others and understand their points of view. Okay, so this is another case of information of this Nigel Farage. This is completely manipulated information. In this case, I won't go very deep on that, but he's quoting a newspaper article where it is published this news about this guy that has been deported. He has been deported, and he just perpetrated an attempt of how do you call that? It's a terrorist attack that was unsuccessful, and he was processed, and finally he was deported to his country. So what he's putting here in his publication is pictures from a similar terrorist attack that indeed took place, not the case for what this man has been accused. And he says he should be deported, but in reality, he was deported. So, you know, it's like to make these emotions flourish and of course to create some chaos. No? Okay, so very briefly, sorry for that. What we need, what we have to work on, what we have as a challenge in our classrooms, in our spaces for education, is to avoid these echo chambers when we hear what we want to hear, is to avoid fragmentation and polarization, and try to build intercultural dialogue, empathy, and mutual understanding, solid information based in contrast and in diverse perspectives. We need more critical understanding. I won't go in deep on that. And I would like to share with you this concept, the personal locus. I think it is very interesting. This is from author James Porter in his book, Media Literacy, A Cognitive Approach, when he talks about this personal locus. It's about this capacity of being mindful of what we consume, be aware of the concept of the context of the contents we are being exposed to, and having the control of channels and personal routines about information. You know, information is like our diet today. In this case, I think it's very interesting. He puts example of many people do this, that put a TV show as a background, you know, to feel like some company there. And you are listening information but you're not aware of that. You're not conscious about that. You're just listening things. And then 2 hours later or 1 week later, you have some information in your mind, but you don't remember where you got this from. And you just repeat it without quoting the source. You just have it on your mind. And this is how many people finish by repeating things that they have heard somewhere, they don't know where, and they don't remember even the source. And this is how false information, even not false information, because this is easier to identify, but junk information, for example, information without quality, without arguments, without facts that can make the user understand what he's reading. This is the kind of information that we need to avoid, and to be aware where we got this from. Okay. And finally, some questions that I would like to present to you to continue the debate. For example, we haven't talked about it, but this artificial intelligence. No, it's another big line of discussion here. How would artificial intelligence affect digital inequality? How would it affect democracy worldwide? How would it affect users' privacy, human creativity, how it is vulnerable to fake news? And finally, the big questions: what should a teacher teach to their students to thrive in the information society? Okay, this is my questions for you to continue the debate. And finally, I would like to finish with a phrase from Edgar Morin: "We are sailing in an ocean of uncertainties through archipelagos of certainties." And Marshall McLuhan phrase in his, how do you call that? Where he lies, no? I don't know.
It's called
Sorry?
Zone. That's all. Yeah.
Thank you, Albert. The truth shall make us free, shall make you free. Okay. Thank you very much for listening to me. I'm looking forward to your comments, reactions.
Thank you, Geisel. I'm not sure if the questions that you put now in a few, yeah, are to answer now, just to think about it. I don't know if any of you like to share some thoughts or to comments or to answer one of these questions. Yes, Maya.
The one that sticks out to me a lot, I mean, I love all of these questions, but the one at the bottom, what should a teacher teach to their students to thrive in the information society? This is actually something that I was learning in my journalism courses as well. And this was before we had this boom of AI and everything, but it was the idea of questioning things, even things that are official. For example, there are studies, medical studies that were performed for women's birth control. And yet there were biological men that were included in the study who do not have female reproductive organs. This is an official study. And this is kind of what I tell my students of, like, even the things that seem like they are true and official and by experts, by all means, use those things, but also ask about them. Try to understand them as best you can as well. So, when we're talking about an information society, is, you know, so much of it is right now, this is what it is, and you have to accept it quickly because it's moving on to the next thing. There's not much time for us to do those questions, which makes it very easy for misinformation, which makes it very easy for us to create these ideas that may or may not be true. So I think that teachers need to teach questions. You don't necessarily have to have the right answer right now, but ask questions about everything.
Thank you, Maya. Anyone else like to share something or to answer some of these questions? Yeah. You are a bit shy today. Okay, so if that's okay, I think we can end this Zoom here. I don't know if you guys would like to add something just to finish the presentation.
No, I wanted to say that this is very relevant to what you have shared. I think that the critical thinking is one of the things that we have and people need, I would say, in basic education, no? Because information is already there. That is true. There's a lot of information online available. So of course the role of the school is quite different. No, it's not just transmitting information. This is not needed anymore. Information is there. What schools need to do is to teach students how to relate to information and how to question, of course. It's not that easy. I think that people will need to I mean, another risk that we can find today is the possibility of mistrust, no, for everything, and looking with a suspicious eye everything you see, and that's not interesting at all. No, that's not. It's the other side. You cannot do that. But you need to find a balance between trust and keeping a curious eye on what you have in the other side and try to see perspective and contrast all the information you see. So I think it is very relevant. And finally, if you don't have any other reaction or question about the presentation, I wanted to know if you have any doubt about the activity. Yes. If you have started with that and you want to share something, you have some idea you want to share with the others to know if you're the good path. I don't know. you want to share something about it? Yeah, go ahead, Maya.
I just want to make sure that I'm understanding the topics that we're going to be writing about for this. More or less, we're just trying to make our own observation based off of the readings and the forums and presentations, and break it down into pros, cons, suggestions, and a bibliography. I just want to make sure I'm kind of understanding the basic structure of this.
For the activity.
Yes.
Yeah.
The activity was, it looked like a paper to me when I was looking at it.
Yeah, but it can be whatever education process you have been involved in.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Okay.
or you know of another friend, of people that have been has been doing something that might be interesting, you know, that you want to analyze
Mm-hmm.
it.
Okay. Because I was interested in we were talking about having access and not necessarily the digital gap, but some of the challenges that people might have even though they can access the information. Particularly, I wanted to talk about during my time in Taiwan, there were a lot of people, a lot of kids that didn't have the critical thinking part. It just was not included in anywhere in their education, regardless of whether it was technology based or not. So I wanted to talk about the fact that they had the internet, they have phones, they have laptops, but because of this lacking of critical thinking, they were unable to, you could give them an open-ended question and they will still ask, you know, well, what's the right answer? So
yeah, and you had the access to the to an educational activity that you can analyze.
More or less, it was a presentation that they got to pick their topic, and even picking the topic was difficult for them.
Yeah,
because they didn't, the only things that they were really thinking about was for very loosely, if you gave them, here's point A, get to point B, they would ask you how. They would not be able to figure out their own way to get to point B. So when you gave them technology, which has all this opportunity to find things, to have many different ways to get to point B, they are still asking you how. So that's that's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah,
but
if you can explain the process that resulted in that, it's relevant.
Okay.
It's very, the most important thing is that you have this pedagogical design in mind, so you can understand how evaluation has been proposed, the resources, the used resources, even the critical thinking stuff, how it has been motivated by the teacher or not. I mean, this kind of analysis is relevant.
Okay. Thank you.
I wanted to ask also about the citations and mainly the resources from we should use the readings you had gave us about the Knowledge Society and the UNESCO. So we should use this to cite, to relate it to our paper.
You can use the bibliography that you consider relevant, not this one that I presented today.
Okay, we can use from outside and we can use from these readings.
Exactly, you can use whatever suits you best, you know, what you consider relevant for your talk. But I share this presentation with you, and I will share the bibliography as well, if you want to take a look at it, okay?
Yes, thank you. We will upload it on the virtual campus. And no, it isn't a minimum of sources or yeah.
No, I would recommend just to keep it as much recent as possible. If you can. I think it is a good recommendation just for you, you know. Try to follow an established norm, to be consistent with the norm you choose, and that's all.
Yes, exactly, yes. Okay, so if you don't have any other questions, I think will end the presentation today, and we'll see you next week. We're starting the new module about media literacy and critical thinking. So this last part of the today's term was a perfect introduction for the next topic. So thank you, everyone. Thank you again, Geisel. And if I may, we will share with the students your personal mail if they have any other thoughts, any other doubts, so they can reach you.
Of course.
And thank you guys, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much.
Thank you. Bye.